everyone, and welcome to another of Paul's Story and Song Time. Today we're going to start with the Three Little Pigs. Are you ready? Let's go. Once upon a time, there were three little pigs, all of them brothers, and they decided to go and build their own homes. The first little pig built his house out of straw. The second little pig built his house out of sticks, and the third little pig built his house out of bricks. Now there lived in the area a big, bad wolf who liked nothing better than to gobble up little piggies who were out on their own. He went to the house of the first little pig who'd built his house out of straw. He knocked on the door and said, little pig, let me come in." And the little pig said, "Not by the hairs on my chinny chin chin." "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in." And he took a deep, big, bad breath, and he blew. And the house made of straw fell flat. "Ah!" went the first little pig, and he ran to his brother, who'd built his house out of sticks. Well, along came the big bad wolf, and he said, little pigs, let me come in." And they both said, "Not by the hairs on my chinny chin chin." "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in." And the big bad wolf took a big bad breath, and the house made of sticks fell flat. "Ah!" went both little pigs, and they ran to their brother, who'd built his house out of bricks. Well, along came the big bad wolf and knocked on the door and said, little pigs, let me come in." And the little pigs said, "Not by the hairs on my chinny chin chin." So the big bad wolf said, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in." And the big bad wolf took a big bad breath, and the house made of bricks stayed standing. "Well, I'm not having this," thought the big bad wolf. So he took another big bad breath, and the house made of bricks stayed standing. So the big bad wolf took the biggest, baddest breath he'd ever taken, and the house of bricks stayed standing. "Oh, well," thought the big bad wolf, "I know what I'll do. I'll climb up onto the roof, go down the chimney, and then I'll gobble up those little piggies." So up onto the roof he climbed. Climb, and into the chimney he squeezed. Squeeze. Well, the three little pigs in the house heard all of the noise on the roof. "Quick," said one, "let's start a fire in the fireplace." So they lit a big fire. Down came the wolf down the chimney, and he burnt his bottom on the fire. "Ow, ow, 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 ow!" went the big bad wolf, and he ran out of the house, and they never saw him or his burnt bottom again. And the three little pigs lived very happily in that brick house, happily ever after. The end. Did you enjoy that? I did. It's one of my favourite stories. Now, we are going to sing a song together. It's called The Wise Man Built His House Upon the Rock. And for that, we're going to need to go and find Duke. Duke! Hi, Duke. Ready to sing? Let's go. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock, and the rains came tumbling down. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up, but the house on the rock stood firm. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. The foolish man built his house upon the sand, and the rains came tumbling down. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up, up and the house on the sand fell flat. Splat! Thanks, Duke. See you later. That was fun. Did you enjoy that? I certainly did. Now, I've got time for one more story, and it's a story all about a person called Jesus. Now, Jesus was an amazing person who went around doing amazing things. He healed people, he taught people, he did big miracles. But he did all of this because most of all, he loved people and he wanted to show them how to love God. You can hear all about him in the Bible. This is one such story. One day, Jesus was teaching in a house. Jesus had been doing some incredible miracles, healing lots of sick people and scaring away evil spirits. So big crowds came to hear him teach. Some men had a friend who was paralyzed. That means he couldn't walk, not even a little bit. When they learned that Jesus had come to town, they got together and they decided to go and see Jesus, to see if he could help heal their friend. When they got to the house, they couldn't get their friend to Jesus because of the crowds. So they had to think, They climbed up onto the roof, climb, and they dug a hole in the roof, dig, and they lowered the man through the hole down in front of Jesus. They were really hoping that Jesus would heal their friend. Jesus looked at the man, and when he saw their faith, he said, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Now, some people were sat there listening to Jesus, and they were shocked. They thought, how can Jesus say that? If you do something wrong to someone, well, only that person can forgive you. And sins are when we do wrong things towards God. So only God is allowed to forgive them. How can Jesus say your sins are forgiven? Well, Jesus knew what they were thinking, and so he said to them, which is easier to prove? To say to this man, your sins are forgiven, or to say to this man, get up, take your mat, and walk? Well, said Jesus, I want you to know that I can forgive sins. So he said to the paralyzed man, Man, I tell you, get up, take your mat, and go home. Well, the man stood up in front of everyone, picked up his mat, and he walked out in front of them all. Everyone was amazed, and they said, we have never, ever seen anything like this. Who on earth could this Jesus person be? The end. Well, thank you very much for joining me. You've done very good listening and singing brilliantly. I will hopefully see you again very soon. So all that's left to say is stay safe, stay well, and God bless. And I'll see you later. Bye.